Welcome to PhD with Women on It, Hack the Future. My name is Mais Taha, and today's PhD, Positivity Hacks Delivered, will be by our guest, Mais Taha. Topic, Communicating Transition to a Greener Digital Future. Episode 144 starts here. Let me remind you, this is a grassroots community that focuses on women on IT, an inclusive forum of women in technology, startups, and female leaders who are supported by men as well. And I bring heart to that hustle because empathy is my mojo. And empathy is critical when you are communicating transition to a greener digital future. First, let me mention what's been happening in the world of our community. Cheers to Charlotte Negeson, data solution lead at Amini, for her successful keynote speech at the Female Founder Award by the Scaling Digital Agriculture Innovations through Startups team during Viva Technology. Thank you for encouraging and motivating more female founders. Join the ultimate intellectual showdown for C-level executives with our former PhD guest, Guy Kawasaki, this coming June as he tackles challenging scenarios, drives innovation, and tackling captivating dialogues. Guy has recently published his book, remarkable book, and definitely worth to watch this space. Finally, congratulations to our former PhD guest, Dr. Birgit Felden, for her successful event at the BIP 2024 in Berlin. We wish you all the best. Now let's go back to our topic, communicating transition to a greener digital future. Can digital design be a force for good? Absolutely. Join another Positivity Hacks Delivered with guest Mais Taha, a groundbreaking digital designer and the founder of Standardized Green Digital Transformation. In the inspiring live conversation, you will discover how her journey from environmental activist to digital leader is redefining sustainability in the digital age. The power of combining creativity with eco-consciousness to create a more sustainable digital world, and how Mais is tackling greenwashing through metaverse design and digital standardization. Finally, you will get practical tips for making a positive impact through your own choices. And we only have less than an hour. Tune in live or listen to this podcast. Connect, say hello, give a review because it all helps our community. Mais, let's start with a simple question. Where in the world are you today?
Hi, Beata. Today I am where we met in the first time. I am in Malta. I work and live in Valletta, the smallest capital in the world. And it's a fantastic country in many areas. Of course, the business community is very supportive because it's a small island. And there's big room for innovation for the small capacity that you can see. The potentials are very huge. Like I mean to say, small. You would expect the small capacities, but the potentials are really very big.
Excellent. Thank you, Mais, for this really short but very deep introduction to Malta. Indeed, we have met during some of the events that Malta has got plenty of. And thank you so much, Mais, for joining us. So your journey from an environmental activist to a digital leader is fascinating. Can you share with us the key moments that shaped your transition into the digital space while maintaining your commitment to sustainability?
Okay, of course. Now, the very first minute was when I joined the Royal Society for Conservation of Nature. So that was when I was very young. But when I started studying architecture, specifically in 2004, I started integrating kinetic architecture in design, and I started using the kinetic facades to control light and also to control the shape of the building. So it was very important that the building reflects the activity and what's happening inside. Also, it will change the amount of light, specifically that it was a school. So it was very important to have a sufficient amount of light in different activities levels. And it was very integrated with the architecture and urban settings of the capital of Jordan, of Amman, because it was a cliff, like it was a very steep um, mountainside, and it was oppositing another mountain. And then you will need to be very understanding to the structures that you will need and how to create interactive design that meets the needs of the community and meets the need of the urban settings. And one of the most famous architects in the Middle East and even in Europe, his name is Ammar Khammash. He had great examples for this type of architecture and for vernacular architecture. Now, the second twist in my career was when I started the standardization of the LEED certification, understanding how the standards of sustainability works. And when you understand the standards, you just realize that, okay, why the human factor is a little missing? Because well being was not there in 2009, 2011. Then I was among a few who introduced well-being in 2013, 14, and it was a proposal by my mentor, but also I had sustainability in all my assignments in facility management, where I started to understand the data in an IT perspective. Because as a facility manager or in the facility management, workplace management, you read the data differently of the building. You don't see it as a designer, you don't see it as an engineer, you don't see it as a technologist, you don't see it from a hardware perspective. You see it in a different way that has a time factor in operations, which is very, very different. And again, well-being was not number one. Okay, you have health and safety, you have daylight, just like in the standards, but you don't have how the design and the operation can affect the mental health, the physical health, and how the processes and the procedures and the strategies of the workplace also. And then when I started working in the building information management modeling industry, which was a period between 2016 until 2021, that was also another pivot point. Because helping different companies, either they ask me to do it or not, to have their operation meeting the demands of their workflows, it was a very challenging thing because when they ask for it, they resist it more than if you do it without they asking. Like in two companies, I used the information management in the built environment without my bosses asking for it. And the results was magnificent. Like in one of the companies, we finished the stock projects that were since 2013, and we were in 2016, and we managed everything. It was pure data management. In the other project, it was a huge tender, and that was very capable of being issued in less than a month to have all the suppliers sending their quotations. And then it was possible to save 300,000. So it was a very, like, maybe, no, it was not very noticeable because of the huge amount of budget for each project or for these companies, but it was a significant achievement for me because I was testing the applied knowledge. Then I joined companies that really needed help. And it was different, but it was also effective.
So, Mais, you talk a lot about data, but really, what were the changes you managed to implement?
Readability.
Readability. So what
Readability.
exactly does it mean? Because for somebody who's listening to us, it's a lot of F word, which is framework from European Union, but there is no substance behind it. So maybe you could just explain to us whether it was a better model for transportation, or what exactly was that?
I will have a very simple, direct example for this. AI now is a breaking in news all around the world. Taking a very simple example, which is Grammarly. Grammarly existed since 2011, but it was not as trusted as nowadays. Compare it to ChatGPT and the other data sets that are now used to create more informative or feedback when you asking them. The only difference between the early stages of AI and the current stage of AI is accessibility. To get different users using the same source of information in a simplified way that doesn't need them high technological in background to reach it. Now, what I used to do, like I didn't use rocket science, it was Excel sheets in both cases. In 2016, it was Excel sheets. In 2017-18, it was Excel sheets. So I didn't reinvent the wheel. But what happened back then that you use the data or you arrange the information in a way, if it's read by a junior, they can use it. If it's read by a senior, they can use it. If the boss passed by to see the progress, in a click, he can see it. And this is very important. And the software, of course, there are more sophisticated software than Excel, but Excel will always be the god software of everything, for me at least. So that was the example.
Cool. So they were able to read it, but reading is not everything. Understanding is really the core issue here. Uh,
Exactly.
so, so what?
Interact with it, like to get what they need from it. This is what I meant. Sorry for the expression.
Okay, that's more clear now, Mais. Now, how do you merge that information with creativity or with eco consciousness in your digital design?
It's a twisted way. Now, simply when you arrange the information, you put the more environmental conscious in the base framework. So, for example, if you let's take a supplier as an example. You will have opportunity to supply from Italy, you will have an opportunity to supply from Spain, you have opportunity to supply from Jordan or from Turkey. Now, what fools all of us that we will assume that the most cost effective and environmentally friendly is Italy if we are in Malta. It's not really the case. There are many, many factors in the value chain where you really can evaluate the environmental impact. So usually I always would recommend go to a manufacturer, which is not a rocket science also. Everyone knows that manufacturers are cheaper because you don't have this overhead price, adding on no taxes, take less taxes, different uh, handling of resources. And this is where you really want to play with data or understand data. And now it is mandatory, I think, when you get the digital passport to check the value chain in the Green Deal. So that's for now.
Okay, can you give us an example of project where this synergy had a significant impact?
Now, some projects I can't go deep about them, so I must think of a project. For example, it is a project that didn't happen because the synergy was missing. It was about having a water fountain designed in Dubai, but I wanted stone from Jordan. And it was not very easy to have this arrangement happening in a very eco-friendly way and also to be the one who supervise everything. So, for example, in that very specific situation, if I had similar or material in Emirates back then, or new better suppliers, the entire project could realize. But then at that specific time, there was no Jordanian stone in uh, in Dubai, and this made the entire process more complicated than what we expected. So this is an example, and it was a very pure natural material project. It was steel, glass, and stone.
Mhm. We have a comment from Patrick
Ah,
relating to your Grammarly comment, and he says, "Isn't Grammarly also a great example of the benefits and disadvantages of AI? I mean, it homogenizes to a very dull grammar structure, but if you want to write creatively, then Grammarly has a fit."
okay. I have an answer for this. My supervisor back then didn't like that I used Grammarly, and he found out. He used to tell me, "You use something to fix the writing." I told him, "Yes," because for me, I back then in 2011 there was no alternative to make it academic, formal, informal. So it will give you some examples. So I do agree with you. It make your writing not always better, and it might fit better with the creative writing. I tried ChatGPT for creative writing, by the way, and I was astonished with the results. So yes, I will test Grammarly because I didn't use it since 2019, but I will check and let you know if it's a better fit or not. But for now, I think it's a good fit. My spontaneous answer. But yes, it
For
make it dull also. I agree with you, Patrick.
Thank you, Patrick, for your comment. We also see that you're glad to see us both on the screen. Thank you once again. A little bit of privacy because we met with Mice a couple of times during also Malta Business Network meetings. So, Miles, going back to the greenwashing, which is a major issue in the sustainability world, how are you addressing this challenge through your work in metaverse design and digital standardization?
Standards, ISO standards. Get everything, the processes standardized, and get it compatible to the different environmental ISOs, but not all of them are for the same use. For example, in zero waste, I am following the ISO for eco labels, which is 14024. And if someone has more data relevant uh, eco brand or eco workflow, they must have it for the the relatively relevant ISO. So it's not the same ISO for every process or every product. Now, globally, there's around 480 something eco labels. So if you are in agriculture, there is the eco label that you can go for. If you are in manufacturing, there is also the B Lab, I think. So
There is
and
plenty, as we know, and
trading label, there is plenty.
definitely lots of companies are jumping on the bandwagon of greenwashing. So the concept of greener digital future may be alien to many. What are some of the most common misconceptions people have about digital sustainability?
That they think if it's digital, it's sustainable. Uh, it can be, but the clouds are not literally clouds, They are servers, they consume energy. There is equations for the carbon footprints for the cloud, so it's not really as dreamily cloudy as we wish. No, it is even the digital footprint. There is a footprint that you can calculate it for your services. And for example, in one of the two platforms that I'm using, specifically Shukran, there is no data save. I don't take the user's data. I don't save in the cloud. Like it is for a very high price to go for a data backup. So I prefer to use no data. So as if you don't save the data, you have less clouds, you have less space, then it is more eco. And I like that there are some projects that can apply to this, and especially if you go online. For example, it's a very silly example, but the BMI calculator, it doesn't save your data. You don't go back to find your data there.
Right, that's one of the many misconceptions about digital sustainability. We're going to tackle more. Ladies and gentlemen, ask your question, make a comment, say hello. That always helps our community. As someone leading the change in green digital transformation, what practical tips can you offer individuals and businesses looking to make a positive impact through their digital choices?
I will make only one and repeat it 3 times. The process, the process, the process. If they get the process right, technology falls into processes. But if you always dream about technologies, welcome in a race that has a start and has no end. Like technology, you sleep, you wake up with something new happening. If the technology changes, or if a supplier disappears, or if Meta is not there anymore, let's say, all the people who are building their businesses on the metaverse power, what will happen to it? Not the metaverse itself, but let's say on the virtual reality and the power of digital equipment and the online tools, etc., etc. Now, the business must have a real value that is not only delivered through utilizing software. So you must have a process in the business. And if you have the process right, that has an input and output. Now, if you are a digital business, this will be an automatic thing. But even if you are a business that is still a traditional business, now this is what ISO differentiates businesses, even if they were like in my region, a falafel store, but it has an ISO certificate. Because they do the business in a very systematic way. Now, when he introduced the digital falafel modeler, and it's a real story. It's automatic, so it is faster, it's more productive, and it is of course optimize the process. But it's the same process of how he produced the piece of falafel in a certain size, and he has X capacity of production, and he has Y customers per day. So he knows when this machine will work more, he knows when this machine will work less. He can have a preventive maintenance if he decided to have it planned in a different digital twins tools. So like we are not only talking about like the metaverse of creating uh, like let's say tourism products, or creating advertisements, or creating educational programs, because now you can use it in education, especially for body parts, for example. But even if you are a manufacturing company, you can have it in different ways using digital twins. So this is what I would emphasize. It's the process of your workflow. The process is the base. If you have a process that can adapt to different technologies, you will survive in any era. But if you have very traditional process that you can't even remember, that's the difference.
Mm. So, what about the traditional businesses and their processes? Because there is still this nostalgia about going about the the traditional way and a traditional model, or building things in makerspace. Do they
You
have
took
a chance to survive?
you took me back to 2003. And our landscape project, I created something that was the concept was systematic mess or systematic chaos. Now, there is no business with no process. there is always a pattern that is repeated over and over and over. That if you look inside it, a person in his daily routine is doing the same things, in his annual routine, achieving plus minus the same things. So the difference between a business that will survive and the business that will not survive is how far you are from adapting new technologies if you needed to do it and if it was the only option to do it. Taking an example, digital, for example, both Jordan and Malta are super advanced in the digital ID and cybersecurity aspects. And because it is a government orientation, everyone follow. Even the most traditional people, they have now digital ID. They have ID login. You know, it doesn't. We are talking about two different countries, in two different, one in Asia, one in Europe, or in Africa geographically. It doesn't matter, but we are talking about different countries. So if the government force it, everyone is learning. Now, why people are scared? Because they are responsible for it. So what holds CEOs, in my opinion, from taking this step is because they are the accountable for it. And and the idea that I will change without anyone asking me to change scares them. Now, to be fair, to be very fair, I was always in the digital side. So in 2002, it was my first job. It was CAD teacher TRA, teachers and research assistants. So, and the first thing I realized was is my friends' exams, because I was correcting the younger batch papers, but it was files. All of them had the same exercise. I could never, like, it was very surprising that they had different sizes for the files. Like, if we are all asked to draw 5 lines, why the file has different sizes? Because of the process. Each one of them did it in a different way. And what you really need to understand that people, when they jump to a software, what will happen in the next 3 years, by the way, because everyone doesn't want to adapt ESGs. Everyone is very scared of digital twins, or rather, is data or it's metaverse, because digital twins has two definitions, or more than two, but the most famous are two. So they are scared. I can say that they are scared, and maybe mainly scared of having things that works stop working, doesn't have enough infrastructure to support their personal decision, because sometimes people are scared to, what if I am the only one who moved? What if I had needed assistance and I didn't find the needed help? So there is a skill gap and there is a skill shortage. So I don't blame anyone who's scared to take the step. But as someone who was always there, I used EPM systems since 2009. So I never used, like, only in my startup I use a 360 and then the very simple light uh, programs. But all along my life, I used very heavy programs to manage workflows. So I understand that this was a default for big companies, and it is a very beneficial. It will come with a huge benefit for smaller ones. But even in small ones, I hear a question, and I heard it in Jordan, and I'm sure that it's everywhere. What we will do when we finish the jobs in our hand? Sometimes people are scared of running out of work. And this is also something that you must consider. Like, high efficiency might not be the needed thing in the business. And this is something also scares people. So I believe that the adaptation of the digital, eco-digital, and the digital is slowed by fear of what if things went really very faster than us human. I believe that we must shift our conscious to the work-life balance and to be more value-oriented. So, and also to have this win-win.
Oh, we seem to be. Oh,
It's better to start considering to go digital and green. And don't be scared of running out of work. That's it.
Thank you, Mais. That was a long
Answer.
expose, and we lost you for a second, but I'm glad that you're
Okay.
back. So I think we got the gist of we should not be scared of digital transformation. We should embrace it, and definitely, as we know, the pandemic has accelerated some of the changes, which is great, even though we still had to print out all our um, digital certificates for many many vaccines. Anyway, we've got comment from Olga Vassina. Olga says, fascinating chat. Hi, Mais. Hello, Beata. And Olga asks a question. When it comes to ESG, how do we square our digital future adoption with the fact that data centers now consume more energy than the entire aviation industry?
This what I did in Shukran. Shukran doesn't store data. It solves a very crucial problem that can give an instant feedback, but at the same time, it has no data stored. And that's why that's the example that I was mentioning, which is I'm trying to promote no clouds, not zero data saving, but to try to not really highly depend on the cloud for saving information. The reason why I don't support saving information is because we collect the information, then we hire 100 data scientists to use this information. Most of the information that is getting collected is useless because you collect it without knowing why you want it. So the real or the right orientation in correct IoT, Internet of Things, or Internet of Behavior, because there is also IoB and there is also IIoT, which is Industrial Internet of Things. The correct approach to collect the data that you need. This is number one. Number two, to save it if you will need it again in the future. So the probability that you will need the saving data is the same probability for all the files that we downloaded and never read again.
Hmm.
So this is my straightforward answer.
Well, isn't it like a black box in aviation industry? You may need that data, you may need that recording sometime in the future to understand the processes.
Now, I'm not talking in aviation. I am talking about ESG in workplaces and specifically in SMEs. To be fair, I have very shallow to no information about the aviation industry, so I'm not the right person to answer questions about aviation. However, hearing stories about the black box, like there is accidents, and in such incidents, you will need the information. So, but I don't have enough information about the aviation industry, to be fair.
Right. Nor do I. I'm just, kind of percolating on the idea of sustainability in the digital age. We have another percolation from IPOV Patrick L. Young. Quotation: don't be scared of running out of work. That's excellent point. Patrick is bringing your quotation. And now, major DEI point. Where it used to be said in Ireland, a woman's work is never done. Nowadays, that can apply to both men and women. Would you agree with that?
I agree with anything Patrick says. Especially the word of the day, you know. And I think Patrick, the DEI can be the word of the day today.
There you go. Well,
Yes, yes,
I,
continue.
as a
I,
good wife, I will agree in public. However, there is always some but. So let's go to another question. So, can you tell us about a moment in your career when you realized the significant impact your work could have on both the digital world and the environment?
a significant a minute in my career. One of my favorite minutes. Let me remember. It
That's a
was,
long
it was,
pause.
it was, it was in 2016. Uh, my team was struggling in modeling a project. So I used a trick, and then they were able to model it. And I believe that, that project was very important for the company in general. It was not an environmental project, unfortunately. But however, when you use technology in construction specifically, you are already cutting waste in a huge amount. So the twist of using technology for saving materials was there. But this minute was the happiness of the team because they did it, and it works, it works. It was a very nice minute. It was a very nice minute.
Well, here's to many more successes. We've got another great successful quotation garnered by our community. Olga Vasina says, most of the data we collect is useless. A fascinating point, Mais, and probably a massive trigger for a million data scientists. LOL, good point, Mais. Indeed, we collect a lot of data. We only use how many percent of it?
Depends. For my opinion, you use a percent that you can look at in 5 minutes or 10 or 3 hours maximum. Like
So, what about the models, the analyzing models that could analyze the data without the human intervention? And wouldn't AI be useful here?
until AI is ready, it takes time. And I believe that there is a huge mistake, especially in environment. Okay, here to go. The data we collect is the data of the past. So, what is the ability of the prediction of an event that happened in the past compared to the ability of what we are already using to forecast environmental changes? Like, I always wondered if we really, really, really are heading in the right direction when we collect past patterns in a climate that is changing in a shifting pattern. Personally, I believe that the prediction probability is low. However, good luck for everyone who knows how to do it.
Well, Mais, I know that you're using quite often religious religion as the basis of your thesis. So, what about the seven fat years and seven lean years? Wouldn't there be some structure,
Is
some
there?
pattern there?
I don't know. Like the you know, I live in my imagination, and yes, I have a very strong spiritual part, and I believe in all the Abrahamic religions, including this story of Joseph. I know I have no idea. Like I know that we are in inflation for 2 years, and no one is like speaking really loudly about it. There is inflation, and it's very obvious, and there is even horrifying problems everywhere. There is a climate shift. There is a climate change that is forced to happen, which is more like scarier. But that, like the rains in Dubai. Come on, if you are collecting Dubai's information for the last 20 years, could anyone predict the amount of rain? You
That's a
understand me?
question. That's the question we're gonna leave hanging as a hanging fruit in the beautiful garden where Adam and Eve first met. Now, Let's go back to the planet Earth and maybe let's envision the future of this digital design. What
Yes.
trends or innovations do you believe will be pivotal in advancing sustainability in the digital realm?
It will become as accessible as AI technologies for writing and general information. Like neutral people will be able to speak to the software and get the different alternatives. This is something I'm sure about. And I think Autodesk can do it in a blink if they decided to do it. I'm a big fan of Autodesk. They should pay me, by the way. So, uh, if Autodesk decided to launch a software that anyone speaks to that generate designs, they can. They already used several generative designs in 2016 and 15. It was already there. So we are not talking about something that doesn't happen or is very hard to achieve. The gap between how much technology you will need to know to get a certain result will shrink more. It will shrink in engineering the same way it had shrank already in the different other knowledge areas. The problem will always be that technology people has no practical experience, but in the coming 10 years, the amount of people who have the ability to learn technologies and have experience is very high. So let's say my generation, I'm an 80 person, my generation, 90s and the early X generation, these guys will learn the technology and will keep on going, and they will be the ones who will lead the accurate implementation in the digital era. The younger ones, who will be like the last era of the ones who didn't have hands-on experience before touching technologies, they will have a good contribution, but it won't be the most positive contribution. And the younger ones or the new ones, they surprised me with their awareness level, and I must admit I have no right to speak about them until I see what they will do. So I will leave it there because I can predict for my generation and the next generation and the previous generation. But the alpha ones, I don't know.
We never know the
We
secret
never know.
of the future. Absolutely. So, for young designers and activists looking to follow in your footsteps, what advice would you give them to combine their passion for the environment with a career in digital design?
Be humble. Be humble. The more you know, the easier you will say, I don't know. So, and I will tell the younger ones, when an older person tell you, I don't know, especially if they have good background, they mean it. Like, I'm like, if someone with a great background standing in front of 15 person telling them, I don't know this answer or that answer, there is two probabilities. Either the question is very stupid and that person is very polite to tell you it's a stupid question, or it is, and there's no stupid question, but sometimes some people ask very weird questions, or that they don't know because this maybe didn't happen in the background and they are confident enough to tell you that they don't know. And it happens that the new generation expected the others to know everything, which is, come on, if ChatGPT tells you check the information, I'm not sure. They must be more humble. This is what I would tell them. You will have exposure, you have speed. This doesn't make you competent. What make you competent is how you will set the logic in your head, your ability to solve the problems. Because at the very end, engineering, either IT, architecture, coordination of systems, managing systems for different enterprises, project management, whatever type of technologies you are using for workplace management, for design, for facility management, be humble because problem solving is the real meaning of word engineering, at least in Arabic. Like the word handase means problem solving. So stay humble because you will always face things that you don't know. Be open to learn.
So, speaking of problem solving, what is your strategy for problem solving, Mais?
First, I make it bigger. No, first you must really imagine the worst scenario. What is the worst thing that can happen? And when it will really get out of control. Then you will close all the doors of making things go the wrong direction. Then you will look at the areas where you should solve it, and you will choose the one that can cause least damages, if not maximum profit. And usually, I'm very attracted to the maximum profit. And when you are very winning or very positive of going to after a positive result, usually you achieve the positive results. Unfortunately, what happens that most people, or the majority, especially men, they are not as optimistic as women, and they always see the empty part, if not assuming that it will be fully empty very soon, which is not the case. If you were focused on building over your loss to make it a win, it becomes a win. Like this is something I tested, I tried, it works. Just see the positive sides, work on it. But first, close all the doors that will make it bigger. If you don't close it, things can get out of control. So this is how this I will do it with work. I do it with my personal life also.
So, apart from the positivity, what are other features of females or top soft skills that all
Also,
career driven
skills,
females have, in your opinion?
awesomeness. Awesomeness. No, the best thing in women after positivity, I believe it is empathy. Women are naturally more empathic, and the ability to connect with different people, the nutrition ability, even if she doesn't know how to cook, but the idea of seeing everyone, if she's fulfilled first, she will care to have everyone around her fulfilled also. So, and as you said in the background in the very beginning, to be fair, there is no great woman without a great family, great parents, great male figures in her life. And I mean men, not male, men in her life. It's not something that happens by accident.
Right. And since we are talking about females, males, there is no better time than to mention Eleanor Roosevelt and her great quotation about women are like tea bags. We don't know our true strength until we are put in hot water. So, in life, how are you in hot water, mice? How are you brewing?
I am coffee in hot water, not tea at all. um, okay, I am the person who will panic a little. Then I will put myself together and survive it. But I must panic to be like like I would always because as I say, when I see the problem, I must see the full size, the maximum size. And unfortunately, I'm a little bit too empathic, so it might be your problem, but I will feel the same amount of hurt and pain. So I think I always survive, and everyone knows me knows that I do so.
Absolutely. You will panic, you will be late, as we know.
But I will come. I will arrive. I will show up.
That you will come, absolutely, even though the taxi clock is already charging.
Thank you for
There
that.
is there
Thank
is
you.
no empathy in that front. Anyway, what is the number one book you can sit and think, oh, I wish I read it before I started my career?
Actually, okay, I will cheat in this one. I had a book. My brother He's older than me, and he always I was at the third years in university, and he told me, "Mace, read that book. Mace, read that book. It's called The Seven Habits for Steve Covey." And I didn't buy the book. I found the book on a bench in the faculty of architecture. And I was very astonished. Like, so I took it home that day and I read it, the entire book. And it's one of the most fantastic books anyone can read. Because first it speaks about how you manage yourself, then you speak about how you can lead others, and the last one, how you can keep the opportunities open. It's fantastic, and if I would recommend anyone to read anything before their career and even before university, it would be that book. It is the seven habits for most successful people.
The Seven Habits of Highly Effective People by
Habits of people, yes,
Stephen Covey. Um,
yes.
as more,
I invented a new title.
there you go. As
Creativity.
Muriel As Muriel Stroud says, do not follow where the path may lead. Go instead where there is no path and leave a trail. So, what is the trail of mice? What is the next exciting thing you're gonna do?
I'm already doing my next exciting thing. And now, after working in the building information, in the built environment, I had many reasons to leave the in construction industry. I started something that I am considering the most interesting thing I ever did, which is reapplying the same methodologies and knowledge to different industries. So I saw it in fashion and it works, it's beautiful. I saw it in tourism. We did a very small experimental project. It was really very nice one. And recently there is potentials to do holographic displays in theater, which is also something very I am looking forward for. So it's very interesting to apply the knowledge of something you know to things that you don't know. I'm working on zero waste certification system, which is one of its kind, in my opinion. Not because I have a startup and every startup owner thinks that they are doing something that no one else do. It's really like that, I hope. This time it's the case, hopefully. So it's a zero waste certification system that applies for material and can be used by non-designers. It can be used by anyone who's an adult, can open a computer and have an idea to design an object. However, it's better to be used by certain developer of certain type of designs, which is physical designs. So these are the main two things, and of course the platform that we spoke about, Shukran, it's about well-being and Internet of Behavior, which is an area that I worked on through my master, and I had my first award in Europe. It was for this research. So yes, I am excited about what's coming. I like what I do.
That's fantastic. We are glad that you like what you do. And what about the life lesson quote? How did it change you? And what is it?
Okay, it is for a lady. Her name is Susan Jepper. She says, feel the fear and do it anyway. So it's literally says, panic mice and go through it.
Yep, absolutely. Well, that's one of the takeaways for today with mice. And now let's imagine that you could meet anywhere uh, and anyone in the world for a private breakfast. Who would it be, and where would you like to meet for this private breakfast?
Okay, so now if the person is alive, I have an answer. And if the person is not alive, allowed, I have another answer. So, assuming my first answer is I would really love to meet my grandparents, both of them, the one of my father and the one of my mother. I would imagine a very beautiful breakfast in our home, and both of my parents there, both of my grandparents there, the family is there. That will be. I would love to meet them, And I do believe that my father will be proud of me at this stage of my life. This is if the person is not alive. Now, if the person is alive, I would like to have it with our king, and in Jordan, of course. Malta doesn't have a king. Because I already met the queen, and they are the most supportive and the best, like, royal family anyone can have, I think. Not because I'm Jordanian, but every Jordanian really loves our royal family, or most of us, to be fair. I'm very loyal to them, and whatever the breakfast will be with them, wherever it will be fantastic. I met the queen twice, but I never met the king, so I will choose to have the breakfast with him because he is proud of every successful Jordanian woman. Even if I am abroad, I know that, like my siblings, my family, they are proud of us, the Jordanians.
Beautiful. And where would you like to meet?
They can choose. You don't tell the king where to meet. Come on, Beata. I will.
Okay.
It's enough. It's enough to dream about the first part.
As long as you're not late, mice, I'm sure they will be happy to meet you.
I met
Now,
them. No, I met. I was on time twice. So, in two occasions.
that's that's your story and you're sticking to it. So, ladies and gentlemen, and Mais, thank you so much for sharing your insights and experience with us today. Your work is not only transforming the digital landscape, but also paving the way for a more sustainable future. We are all living here today feeling inspired and ready to make our own positive impact, including Patrick and Olga Vasina. Patrick says, great show. Thank you very much, Beata and Mais. Olga says, fascinating show. Thanks as always, Beata, and great to see Mais as a guest. Have a breezy day, ladies. Thank you so much to these comments. And thank you very much to Natalie, Erminia, and Rashling for helping us in the production. Next week, we gonna embrace feminine wisdom, transform your negotiation skills with Cindy Watson, 6 p.m. CET, 12 p.m. EST. We are going to be waiting for your questions, including you, Mais. Hopefully, you can join us
Of course,
as an
I would love
audience.
to join.
Absolutely, to stay updated and ensure you never miss a positivity hug delivered. Follow Woman on it and turn on notifications to be alerted once the video has been released. As always, our positivity quote comes from positive thinking and goes, look for something positive in each day, even if some days you have to look a bit further. If you don't like something, change it. If you can't change it, change your attitude. That's what Maya Angelou preaches. Today is your day to hug the future, hug the positivity you want, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you, Mayus, once again. Thank you,
Thank
everybody,
you.
for joining us, and see you next week.